SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Engineering, Medical and Health Sciences, Management, Science and Humanities, Law, Agriculture Sciences. Admissions open.
Greetings to this August gathering. Good morning, one and all. I'm sure all of you are in anticipation for some more substantial food for thought on accessibility and universal design. Be sure Gaurav Das ji will share even more important information today. I would like to make mention of the video that we shared on the program. It was done by our third year students, especially for this program. And I would like to congratulate the effort of all the team, which have put in so much of effort to make this program very, very interesting and appealing. Today, we are proud to have two eminent guests with us who have honored our request at such short notice. They are none other than Professor Ganesh Babu from AAAD and Professor Manivannan Ilango from SAP Anna University. They are both dedicated professionals and academicians, making so much of difference to the younger generations who are coming into the fraternity of architecture. We deem it a great honor to have you all with us. I now hand over the screen to the young moderators of today, Catherine and Snigdha of third year. Catherine, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good morning to one and all present, and a very warm welcome to our honorary guests. Thank you for honoring our invite and joining us in the second day of our 3-day workshop on the topic, Being Creatively Rational, an Architect's Approach Towards Universal Design. We, Catherine Mary Stanley and Snigdha Thakur from third year are the moderators for today's session. We will have 3 speakers for today's session. Audience, kindly post your questions in the comment box below. It will be addressed by our guests at the end of their respective sessions. Now, I would like to invite Snigdha to introduce our guest speaker. Over to you, Snigdha.
Thank you, Catherine. We are honored to have Professor and Head of Aditya Academy of Architecture and Design, Bangalore, Dr. K.N. Ganesh Babu amongst us. He firmly believes in learning beyond the limits as seen in his academic record. He pursued his B.Arch from Adhyaman College of Engineering, Tamil Nadu, M.Arch in Landscape from M.S. Ramaiah, Bangalore, PhD in Architecture and Landscape Design, Geneva, currently pursuing his PhD from Bharatiya Dasan University, Trichy. With an excellent combination of immense knowledge and experience in field and academics, he has conducted several educational trips in India and abroad, along with organizing workshops and conferences for the same. Presented paper in International Conference on Contemporary Research in Tourism and Hospitality, presented paper in National Conference on Conservation and Sustainable Management of Wetland Ecosystem in Western Ghats, participated in seminar in Making Indian Participated City Smart, Regional Faculty Induction Program coordinated by NIASA, and many more. After working with MS Thomas Associates, one of leading firms in Bangalore, he started his own practice, bringing to reality the dreams of hundreds of his clients. In this period, he also trained several young architects. His firm Loptics is a progressive firm in field of architecture, planning, interior design, and landscape. The firm has been executing a variety of projects ranging from commercial, recreational, office buildings, housing complexes, etc., all of noteworthy scales in different states. and follows a holistic approach towards the design. His sole aim of stepping into academics is to quench the thirst of younger generation and mold the students in right way. His key words for the challenges and for consistent growth are discipline and dedication. Now, before I hand over the session to the speaker, I request all of you to post your questions in the comment box. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, a very good morning to all the participants, my dear students of SRM School of Architecture and Interior Design, faculty members, coordinators, and the wonderful Dean Architect Dr. Satish Kumar for giving me this platform to share a few words with you on a wonderful topic called universal design. And today's context being accessibility. Already the tone for the session is set. Being the second day, I wouldn't like to get back to the process of tone setting. I would like to directly get into the few points which I would like to share with you on this wonderful platform. I would like to basically take this session in two parts. One is I will share with you the small experience what I had in this very, very relevant context of rational architecture and accessibility design for what you call as handicapped, physically challenged people, special people. That was something unique which I would like to take you in the first context, and then I would like to address in a slightly bigger macro level context where we architects have to be focused on what exactly would be the requirement of you younger generation coming up as wonderful architects in future, how conscious you have to be. So this, as part of practice, I was actually had a very beautiful young couple who wanted to do redoing of their building, where it went through the session of discussions. They wanted to demolish their building and put up a new structure, and it went on very well with the plans being finalized and things going well. Suddenly, what happened? There was a sudden disconnect between the client and myself, and wondering what happened. Of course, in this profession, generally it happens because when plans are finalized and you're on the verge of thinking the project is going to take off in a big way, problems like finance and so many other things come across. Then it was part of the practice. Then after 2 months or 3 months, suddenly I got a call from the madam of my client's wife, stating that I'm sorry, we had to disconnect for some time, and we need to discuss with you. Now I'll tell you, how situations arise where you have to grab the opportunity. You cannot keep waiting and sitting for a very big opportunity will come. No, every opportunity which comes is a wonderful situation. So when we went for a discussion, I was surprised. I was really surprised. It was a 10 crore project where we had to demolish and put up a 3-4 or 2-3 story of a beautiful bungalow for them, a very iconic people in Bangalore, which went for a scrap. And I came to know that the gentleman, my client, was paralyzed because of brain hemorrhage. So that was the end of the project. And I was again asked to come and do a little bit of modification in their house, existing house. You should understand the mind state of myself, mind state of the client when I'm thinking about a 10 crore project, and I am again called for a small alteration work just to do a little bit of changes in their house, the washroom area and other things, where the client was physically challenged. He's paralyzed, which means he's just again starting to walk and recovering from his trauma. We had to reduce the floor level of the toilet. And of course, yesterday, the keynote speaker was giving wonderful examples of how accessories will be provided now. I'm not going to get into that. So a 10 crore project got reduced to a less than 10 lakh project. You understand? So yes, of course, we did that. Then the context is not doing that part, that yes, handles and requirements for physical challenge people, yes. But after that, I was again told that there's another context. They had a small open area where you were supposed to construct. They said, The gentleman happened to be a iconic person in that area, heart of the city, and the wife was also very as a celebrity, actress. I have reservations on mentioning the name. So they said, see, we have problems of going outside and giving a walk for the gentleman, Mr. X. So in the open space, we want you to just put up a walkway, a four-side walkway, and a small gazebo in middle. Now, it's very, very, very relevant to today's topic that what I did the design without knowing the importance of this universal design and what I'm speaking today. So the requirement was to have a walkway, say about 30 by 30, to have a walkway all around like a general park and have a gazebo in the middle with a slope proof and all these things. So then it went into the thought process. Then I asked them why you need it. What was the requirement? Then they start saying, see, my husband is just recovering from the trauma and doctor is advised to take him for a walk so that he picks up these, the nervous system and muscles start picking up the habit of walking. See, physical challenge is such a sensitive issue that, we will not realize this because we are all sort of fit. How things change suddenly is the dramatic part of life. So a person who was very active, now today he is starting to learn how to walk. And my requirement was to put a pavement all around. It was a unmaintained land. Then I thought, putting a walkway around, a gentleman walking around and going sitting in the gazebo was not interesting. I need not do that. You call a mason, mark 6 feet all around, you will do it. And put up 4 poles, gazebo is ready. Then I thought, what exactly should I do? Then it went through a thought process. Yeah. So what I try to do is a very simple thing. Now I would like to show you what I did. See, instead of having that square walkway, I just thought, why not create some interest in making concentric circles. I'll show you a small diagram which will help to explain. Say that square plot which was like this, I just drew some circles like this, and I made the pathway to start winding across like this. Whatever the hatch you see here is a simple AutoCAD hatch. The gentleman enters here, he takes a left, walks, takes a left, then takes a right, then he walks around, then takes a right, and so on. He goes along this pathway and he comes here and he enters the gazebo in the middle. Now, why this is required is more important. I could have just done a 4-corner walkway and a shed in the middle and finished it, but it is not that. Architecture is not all about doing that. It is about understanding the client's requirement and giving justice for him. So I'm not going to get into the details of the project, but what you see here, the colors, this color over here are different kinds of plantation, different materials, and the beautiful gazebo. You see a violet color here. It's again a different kind of plant. Now, please understand that by the time the gentleman starts from here and he walks around and comes here, it is, you may not even guess, it is almost 1 hour or 45 minutes to 1 hour. So that is the way he starts crawling. Now, putting ourselves in the user's perspective, in the user's shoe, what is he going to do rather than, just holding the railing or something and walking, was something to create an interest of this different kinds of colors, the flowering plants here, the lawn here, and there's some other activity happening here, so that his mind gets diverted. Instead of focusing on that pain what he has, getting into the feel of nature. That is what the intention was. So finally he comes here and if he still prefers, he can come back again. He can take 1 or 2 rounds. That was the idea. This was created, and this is how it actually came out. This is how the construction happened. So one was a planter box, one was a walkway, and we came up with some structure, gazebo structure like this. This is how, and it was not a typical gazebo. It was something to look more like a chariot. which we covered this with a sheet, and the idea was to fill up this and have the creepers going above the sheet, so that once the creepers and the plants start flowing down and have some seaters here, this will be a beautiful place where a person can spend his time rather than thinking about his physical restriction what he has. So now in this context, see, I'm talking about this accessibility and universal design and rational design from a little bit of landscape perspective. Being a landscape architect, you would have always heard that accessibility is all about levels and other things. Now, what exactly is physical challenge? Now, this is something what has been designed for an individual. Of course, he's got the luxury of having an open space to have a beautiful lawn, which he can spend about 8-10 lakhs for this. Yes, but what about a person of a similar condition who is not having that facility, to have this luxury? He has to go on public park, open space. And when you go to public, it is not only a physical challenge. There are so many other kinds of challenges which have to be addressed. Now, physical challenge, when we're not able to walk or we don't turn one hand, is not alone physical challenge. A person who is not having one of the 5 senses which does not work, a person who is not having a visual connect, we call him blind. A person who is not able to hear, a deaf person, a person who is not able to, the 5 senses, if doesn't work, then they are again physically challenged. Now, in this context, I would, in a global sense, when you talk about city planning, when you talk about a mall, when you talk about public place, a park, how do you address this? Now, why this is done? The main thing is not just for him to come and serve the purpose of accessing a place. A blind person, for example, he goes to a mall, not just for the sake of going to, what will he do there? He can go there because accessibility is there, lift, escalator, everything is there, walkway is there. But there is something beyond that. See, there's something called a right to enjoy all, all in all aspects. Every citizen has got the right to enjoy. So that is why this universal design concept has come up. And probably as architects, to implement it, which should not be the case. It has to cross a road. Very simple. We've seen a number of movies that a heroine has to come and take the gentleman across. I don't know why the heroine has to come, but generally it happens. But why the city is not designed for a blind person to cross a road? It is not totally ruled out. Yes, there are certain places. I really don't know if Chennai has this option, but few places in Bangalore we have, but not really effective. A blind person cannot see the signal, but sure, his all other 4 senses are working well. So when a pedestrian crossing is there and there is a green for the pedestrian crossing, in some places in Bangalore we have this small alarm system where there is a beep. That beep sound happens for about that 10 seconds, and all these days, we have been wondering, and I've also been wondering why this alarm is there. It is actually a little bit disturbing for us, but that is not meant for us. That is meant for the blind people who have to cross the road. But I'm sure, but for metros and few cities, it is not a common, and in the main urban areas, it is not a common context everywhere. Now, that is one example of being alert about the designing. In an urban context, from the landscape point of view, let's again take a blind person walking in a park. Now, walking in a park, a person is already walking. He's got that stick and references he's taking and he's walking. As architects, what is our contribution? Other than doing that, regular paving and plants and all these things, what is our contribution for this universal design, for a rational design for physically handicapped people? Have you ever thought about that? How can we address this? This is more important. See, a blind person walking on a walkway understand that he only needs that sensation of edges. Otherwise, he can walk. Now, how do you create the sensation of edges? Is a beautiful detail in the landscape, flooring, what you do, the pavement, what you do, which you can easily address it. Let it be useful for the blind person or not, it is going to be useful for all. But when the blind person comes there, he knows when he goes edge to the edge, there is a different kind of a texture, not a level difference. Level difference will make a person trip. So from a smooth walk, he is going into a rough walkway, which could extend to about, almost 2 feet or so, where he senses it and comes back to position, right? So that is one way where things can be addressed. One step ahead. Is he only walking? Is he coming to a mall or a park only to just walk up and down? Isn't he privileged to enjoy what we are enjoying? Beautiful lights, there's eat outs, people crowded here, so many gazebos. Of course, there are restrictions, but still we can entertain him with a lot of other things. What can we do? Now, as he walks along a park, what is wrong if we create a small sensation for his ears, where he can enjoy a little bit of a fountain, a waterfall, which states that, oh, I have reached this particular point. He senses the location. First is the movement. He moves along a walkway, and where exactly he is, he can locate himself with the other sense of, okay, there's a fountain here, the cascading effect, the water, beautiful water trickling down the stones and other things. That is a prominent element which helps him to state that, oh, I have reached this particular location. So how far should I go? He goes a little beyond, a few steps ahead. He gets the aroma of beautiful, flowering plants, the senses of smelling. So once he gets that fragrance of jasmine and champaka and so many other sambiki trees, plants smelling, he understands, oh, I have reached another location, and he tries to spend some time there. And you have to create proper places where he can sit, feel, of course, with other civil related activities. So see, it is not for him that he is just smelling the beautiful and their honeybees. There are parrots, the sound, the water sound. It is not that he's just hearing it and passing time. No, there is a lot of emotional dialogue happening between him and the nature, which relieves him from all the disabilities. And that is the beauty the architect can create. This we cannot understand in normal situation. We have to get into their shoe. For that, at least half a day we have to spend with closed eyes. What is it a blind person requires? We can't. For 1 hour, you have your left hand, not even right hand, left hand packed behind, and try to do your normal work. We can't, because we are used to the comfort of everything. So as architects, at least for the professional satisfaction, professional ethics, we have to get into the shoes of those people and address it globally. Now, how would you address it globally? I have practiced for 25 years, but I have not changed the world. It doesn't happen like that. Every designer contributes a small portion of what is possible by him will change the world. And when will the world become an environmental friendly for a handicapped person is when every element is designed to address these issues. I hope I am within the time frame. If I'm exceeding, you can always let me know. So that is the capacity of an architect. That is the creativity. That is the control of an architect. That is the privilege of an architect. So young architects of SRM, the future architects of SRM, please, bear this, keep this very much in your mind. You don't wait for regulations to come and say that, a ramp is required for a physically handicapped. No. Think if my grandmother has to come, how will she come? Or if that gentleman on the road has to reach this place, how? If this person has to enjoy the space like me, then what can I do? Everything cannot be addressed in one particular place. Everything cannot be addressed over a day. Address it day by day. Be conscious about the environment. Be conscious about the people around. And that is enough to address and to make this as a universal design and a rational architecture. I think I have covered at least what I wanted to say. I think with this, I would like to thank School of Architecture and Interior Design for giving me this wonderful platform to share my small project. I would like to say, gentlemen, young students, you people have got a wonderful team. He is a person with beautiful visions. And the bottom line, whatever he asks you to do, please do it. Please don't think why. He is a person who can inspire anybody, provided you are able to take that inspiration. You should be at the receiving end. There are people to throw things, yes, but as students, we should be at a receiving end. Please make use of him. Take the full advantage of. See, we have been paralyzed in this session from March to at least date, and still there are people paralyzed. But I don't think SRM has waited for this. Under your leadership of Dr. Satish Kumar, SRM just said, COVID, go ahead, forget. We are hell bothered about you, and we are going to set different standards. And I appreciate him for taking up this beautiful sessions on webinars. Inspiring his sessions, we started a little late. We wasted 1 month actually. Then we started off, but hats off to him and make use of him. Thank you, Satish Kumar, SRM team, organizers, Anita, madam, and all for giving me an opportunity. I wouldn't take extra time. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity.
The pleasure is all ours. It's wonderful to hear from you, and nothing like experience and real life experience adding to the children's knowledge and inspiring them as you always do. Thank you so much. Yes, Catherine, you can and anybody wants any questions to be answered by Ganesh Babu sir can ask those questions now. You can also type into the chat box if you're not able to do so immediately. Catherine, you can take over.
Thank you, ma'am. We are honored to have our esteemed guest, Dr. Ilango sir, with us. Dr. Manivannan Ilango sir graduated from the School of Architecture and Planning under the prestigious Anna University as an undergraduate and postgraduate. Sustainable design, green building design, and biomimicry are some of the fields he has specialized in. He also did his research in the subject of biomimicry and architectural design process from Anna University. His research papers have been published in several international journals. Design evaluation and preference and relative significance during design process are some of the books he has authored. He is a member of Council of Architecture, Associate of the Indian Institute of Architects and the Institute of Indian Interior Designers. Adding on to his accolades, Dr. Manivannan is an expert member of Inspection Committee in Council of Architecture in Action Plan on Climate Control and member of Executive Committee in Office of the Controller of Examinations, Anna University. He is also a proud recipient of the honorary Birla Yuva Ratna Award in the years 2009, 2010, and 2011. Architect Ilango strongly believes that architects use their education, professional knowledge, and skills to translate abstract ideas into building design. He also believes that the responsibility of an architect is translating the needs and aspirations, theories, schedules, and budgets of the client into appropriate and exciting buildings. Dr. Manivannan Ilango has been a great support to the architecture community of SRM throughout the years and shares a deep bond with us. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine, for the wonderful words.
Thank
And
you, sir.
yeah, good morning, everyone. And my dear my friend, Dr. Satish Dean, very visionary, taking SRM to next level. And my uh, colleague and friend, Professor Ganesh, Professor Anitha, and Grace, Katu, and Surya, and all the beautiful people who are organizing such a wonderful session here. And it's a continuous process of what you guys are doing, keeping everyone occupied, keeping everyone sharing whatever knowledge the entire world has to the students fraternity, to whatever opportunity we have, because every time we tend to overcome the situation by creating an opportunity, right? So it's a beautiful uh, uh, gesture from SRM, and it's a great opportunity for the students to learn, like, and keep themselves uh, connected and updated in whatever way it's possible. And I think it's a beautiful session done by Professor Ganesh, by taking into a small project which is beautifully done, and by throwing little avenues to all the young students, like, are sitting here, to think about, like, what universal design might be, right? But to be frank, like, when I was a student, we used to think universal design means it's not required for us. It's meant only for those who are physically challenged, or there are some sort of challenges, like, which are thrown to them. But this is a right time that, like, this proper topic has been taken as a discussion, because this pandemic has proved to the people anything can happen to anybody at any time. Because take an example of uh, residents, for example, right? Now, all of us all could have designed, like, you are in third year, you would have designed the residential buildings, like, not the way we are using today. But today the perception of the residents is totally changed. The residents, like, earlier meant only for to go home and stay, but today it meant like 98% of the people are staying at home. It meant, like, you have to uh, meet each other compulsorily. You have to have a dialogue. You have to use the space as a classroom. You have to use the space as office. You have to use the space for whatever possible way. The same residents, the perception of the role of the space has been totally changed, totally, redefined, right? So that is what the main task is all about. So here also we are just asking the architects not to think differently, because universal design is not a new design. It is just a process. In this process, all we need to do is, like, we need to be more of empathy to the idea of universal design. Empathy means, like, it's rightly said by Professor Ganesh, that, like, we need to get into the opposite person's mind. As an architect, normally we do that, because whenever we design any project, we assume spaces, like, and then we design spaces by thinking, like, what exactly that space will look like. But we never think that, like, what life has stored for us. Because as he rightly said, like, his client, the program itself is changed, like, now for a certain period of time. Because, like, initially it was just a residential as a posh bungalow, and after that the program itself has been changed completely. So the same way, all of us are, like, we feel like, we are quite healthy, we are okay, and we don't have to really worry about anything. But this universal design will help you in so many ways, because it is also, like, whether we like it or not, we are already enjoying the universal design created by the entire world. I'm sure, like, we will not be able to imagine our life without that button called undo button in the keyboard. We will not live, like, because, like, that is meant for the universal design. Undo and redo button is meant for only those process. We're all wondering, like, something similar we should have in our life, so that, like, we can do certain things as undo or redo. But unfortunately, we don't have. And all of us are accustomed to Alexa and Siri and whatever. All these processes have been, like, done for those people. I don't know how many of you have been there to Express Avenue. If you go there next time, please try to walk into the restaurant called Dialogue in the Dark. Actually, this concept was started in Hyderabad by a couple, but I don't know, like, no, most of you have been there, or if you are not there, like, at least try to go to that restaurant once this COVID situations are over, once the regular activity started, because that's a beautiful concept, like, this that restaurant work. Uh, how probably, like, you can ask, like, because that is run by the blind people, so they ask you to experience like how the blinds survive, how the blinds are using the other four senses on everyday life. So the moment like you go into that, like, they give you that stick, they will be gated, like, you will be gated by those blind people, and the entire roof is completely dark, not even 1% of light. You can see that they are putting you into their shoe. They are asking you to enjoy that. They are asking you to activate your other four senses by giving some puzzles, by asking you to explore, some exercises with smell, some exercise with touch, some exercises, with sound and all those things. And finally, you'll get a beautiful and very nice food, which will be served. So they don't expect you to be like Gandhari, like, you all would have heard the character in Mahabharata, where, she ties her, eyes entire life, to feel the same feel for, her husband. So they're not asking you to be like that. They just ask you to be there inside the restaurant, like, one is like activating your other four senses, because normally we don't do, because whenever we have food, like, we used to call somebody, chat, and we do, except the food, like, tasting the food, like, we do all the other things. But they are asking you to do that exercise mainly to sensitize you to understand, like, how those spaces have been perceived by those people, right? And most of the areas, like, it's covered by Professor Ganesh. And I think, like, beautiful person, Mr. Gaurav, is like, is taking this session. And I was told by Anita ma'am that, like, a lot of informations have been given by you guys, to interpret. And then you are all blessed to know this. People used to troll the 90s kids and 2000. And so you guys are all blessed, because, like, whatever information you wanted, like, it is there in your form, right? So the moment, like, you Google it, you'll get plenty number of information apart from all these things. But all this pandemic situation and this, like, universal design at this particular area is beautifully organized by the Department of Architecture, as well as the industrial design process, industrial design component of this Department of Architecture, because this universal design has been, like, completely taken over by these two people throughout the world. How do we use people? So that is what, like, it's a joke. People used to say that, like, most of the product, like, whatever has been available in front of us, including the architectural spaces, we use only 20% of that. We never use that 80% of it, because we never explore what is there in the balance 80%. So this universal design approach will make you to think, right, to take you into that direction of extending the scope of use from 20% to, at least, like, taking it closer to that. Beautiful example he has given you, that the disability can come in any time. Forget about, like, your normal, your accidents and your paralysis and all those things, because, like, in generally, like, I think Gaurav would have given you a brief. This disability can happen to anybody in three categories. One is the temporary, and another one is, like, the situational one, and third one is the permanent one. So we have to prepare, because nobody would have realized, like, we all will be in this situation for the past 4 months, right? But suddenly, we are changing ourselves, and we are trying to accommodate ourselves into whatever space, like, whatever activity we are trying to do. We discovering ourselves, like, what kind of talents we have. Nowadays you can come and see, like, you can come across, like, plenty number of YouTube channels, like, where people are showcasing their talents, and they're trying to explore their activities and other things. So I'm sure, like, the other basic things, what and all you need to do in universal design would have been given, and probably you'll be also discussing. But being in third year, no, I just want you people to think, slightly towards sensitivity towards like, certain areas, like, because in third year, you'll be designing projects, something similar to housing, something similar to the institutional typology, right? But whenever like, we design an apartment or a home, we never think about like, the situation where we are today in a COVID situation, where we connect ourselves to the nature. We never think about it, where we can live without an air conditioner with the proper ventilation, lighting. We all think, but we take it for granted. If not, at least like, we can substitute the air conditioner, or we call so-called as green buildings or whatever, but still the entire house may be air conditioned. But today, no, you are forced to not to use any air conditioning situation on any of those, like, no. And another typology which you may be thinking as a mall or a shopping or whatever. All these spaces, the COVID situation today is making you to think, how will you design those spaces without air conditioner? How these spaces will be used by the entire people? How will you make this space, used by more number of people, more number of access to those areas? I'm not going to get into those principles and all those, because anyway you're going to discuss in detail. I just want you guys to think that this all this universal design is not uh, 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 it's a new concept, but all your design can be measured by how much people are accessing to it, how much population, like, you're trying to extend it. We all try to forget that, like, the disability is not about like the physical challenge and other things, because when we get older, above like 65 age, so everybody has to use those spaces, because we cannot think, because we can think here, but our physical, will not permit you to walk, or our vision may be, lower, because they say statistics like 60 to 65% of today's world are using glasses, for the normal activity. So apart from the, regular blinds, and then the partial blinds and all those things, right? And then we all see the movie like, no, what is that, Poke Kanmani, where they're talking about a new disease, like, the age people will come across, because their cognitive knowledge will deteriorate, and they will not be able to relate to know things. So all these parameters, like, we are not heard of, or we are not trying to incorporate into the design. But today, many researchers are working on uh, how we can able to bring in this inclusive, or how we can able to bring this universal design housing, how we can able to bring in this universal design in an educational institution. Of course, like, you would have done the school design in your uh, second year. You would have thought about child's psychology, how the children are reading, how the children are attracted, how the children are referencing, because they will not be having, they would have developed that uh, the knowledge of, and how the dark colors are helping them, how the bold signages are helping them. And there are so many factors, like, you would have incorporated in your design. I just, before I leave, I just want you guys to just recollect what the great architect Louis Sullivan has said. He always believes form follows function. So when you understand, when you try to incorporate this form follows function, so that we can extend the use of 20% to 40% or 60%, or the other way around. So there is another, people used to say that, like, if your design works well for a disabled person, then it works it works well for everyone. So you can start thinking like from this new angle, your design approach, and then I'm sure, like, with the beautiful and knowledgeable and faculties around, should be in a position to reach to the great heights. And again, I just wanted to uh, uh, remind you guys, like, empathy is the word, like, which you all have to carry from this 3 days workshop. Like, you don't have to be sympathy with the people who are challenged by nature, or by some sort of form, but you need to be empathy on approaching the design, so that, like, you can get into the shoes, you can understand how those people have to use those spaces if you are going to be in that position, right? Understand. So for this, I'm wishing everyone best of luck and wishing this program to, hello? I'm wishing this program to have a great success. And thank you. Thank you for the opportunity once again. Continuous connection, continuous interaction with SRM shows that kind of confidence you guys on me. And thanks again for all those wonderful opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this very informative and insightful session. Your words are indeed thought-provoking. Thank you once again. Audience, kindly post your questions in the comment box below, or you can raise your hands in the chat. Okay, I think we can move on to the next speaker. Snigdha, over to you.
Thank you, Catherine. Now, I would like to welcome our esteemed guest, Architect Mahapatra, who has always inspired his students and colleagues to approach their design solution as design for all. Architect Gaurav Das Mahapatra had an inspiring academic endeavor, and till date, he has given his expertise and professional advice in numerous projects. The job of editing a comprehensive text is stupendous, and he has several to his credit. Today, he represents the young crowd of Indian contemporary architecture and planning and believes in a symbiotic relationship between academics and profession. He believes in giving his best, be it academics or extracurricular activities. His in-depth knowledge and vast experience has been instrumental in shaping young minds. Thank you, sir, for your yesterday's session. It was a great feast for the young minds, and today we are eagerly waiting for the session. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Yes, 1 minute, sir. So the live session for today's program is ending now. Now the workshop starts.